Hi, my name's Diane Weatherly, and this is my presentation on educators inquiring about the world. What is my problem? The European honeybee has had declining numbers throughout Australia, and the biggest decline occurred between 2006 and 2016. Unfortunately, that is a 20% loss of honey-producing hives within a decade. Pesticides, climate change and disease were contributing factors for the decline that had occurred. The impact of the decline of the European honeybee in Australia relates to sustainability, as the decline of the European honeybee has great possibilities of detrimental effect on the Australian economy and also the impact it could have on generations to come. There have been alarming reports of the decline rate of the European honeybee throughout the world. The varroa mite, which is a parasite that attacks European honeybees, has had a great deal to do with the decline. Other countries have experienced varroa mite, and regrettably, if it arrives in Australia, it is anticipated to kill 95 to 100% of the population of the European honeybee. The pollination service they provide will be significantly reduced. Unfortunately, researchers believe varroa mite will eventually arrive here in Australia. What have I learnt? The European honeybee, also known as the Apis mellifera, and was introduced in Australia by the early colonists around 1822. I was amazed to learn that there are hundreds of thousands of hives of European honeybees throughout Australia. Unfortunately, the Australian native bee does not store nectar in ample amounts, and usually they are not known for producing honey. Where the European honeybees are known for not only the honey they produce, but also the ability that they have of pollinating crops. Between 20,000 and 30,000 tonnes of honey is produced annually in Australia, placing Australia as one of the top 10 countries in the world for producing honey. The honeybee industry adds value to the Australian economy and estimates around $147 million a year in gross value of production. Why should you care? If the European honeybee was to become extinct, it would be a widespread issue not only around the world but detrimental here in Australia. The increase of labour costs for farmers to pollinate crops artificially would rapidly increase food prices, which will put a strain on many families financially and play a major part in health issues. The natural flora would struggle to reproduce also, which would then have an adverse effect on fauna that relies on flora for its existence. This will have a continuous effect up the food chain. The European honeybee pollinates more than 336,000 types of plants. And while the European honeybee has contributing factors to the well-being of people, it also provides a range of services to the ecosystem. Unfortunately, if nothing is done to prevent the decline of the European honeybee, it can have a detrimental effect on the Australian economy. This will have a major effect on everyone, even you. The exportation of honey that is produced and the honey products that include beeswax, pollen and propolis will cease. The loss or even the decline of the European honeybee throughout Australia will have overwhelming environmental and economic outcomes. What can we do? Pesticides and insecticides are used to manage plant disease, weeds and insect pests. Unfortunately, by using chemical pesticides and insecticides, it poses a threat to the European honeybee as they are an insect. Maintaining a ban on the pesticides and products that are poisonous to the European honeybee will help prevent the decline occurring. Supporting the European honeybee by planting flowering plants that range in colours of blues, oranges and yellows, as these are the colours the bees love. The European honeybee is the essential organism. Without them, the ecosystem in Australia would become unstable. Let's think about it. Is that something that you really want? Thank you for listening to my presentation.